quite possibly of the greatest legend about the Israel-Palestine struggle is that it's been happening for a really long time. About old strict abhorrences. As a matter of fact, while religion is involved, clashes for the most part around two gatherings who guarantee a similar land. And it truly just returns about 100 years to the mid-1900s. Around then, at that point, the locale along the eastern Mediterranean we currently call Israel-Palestine, been under Ottoman rule for quite a long time, was strictly different, including for the most part Muslims and Christians, likewise few Jews who lived commonly in harmony. It was changing in two significant ways. In the first place, more individuals in the district were fostering a feeling of being ethnic Middle Easterners, yet Palestinians, an unmistakable public personality. Simultaneously, not up to this point away in Europe, more Jews were joining a development called Zionism, which said that Judaism was a religion as well as an ethnicity, one that merited its very own country. What's more, following quite a while of oppression, many accepted a Jewish state was their main method of well-being and saw their memorable country in the Center East as their best expect laying out it. In the main many years of the 20th 100 years, a huge number of European Jews moved there. After the Second Great War, the Ottoman realm imploded, and English and French domains cut up the Center East, the English assuming command over a locality called the English Order for Palestine. Right away, the English permitted Jewish movement, yet as additional Jews showed up subsiding into cultivating networks, pressure among Jews and Middle Easterners developed. The two sides committed demonstrations of savagery, and by the 1930s, the English started restricting Jewish migration. Accordingly, Jewish state armies shaped to battle both the neighborhood Middle Easterners and to oppose English rule. Then came the Holocaust, driving a lot more Jews to escape Europe for English Palestine and exciting a significant part of the world on the side of a Jewish state. In 1947, as partisan savagery among Jews and Middle Easterners there developed, the unified countries endorsed an arrangement to isolate English Palestine into two separate states. Jews, Israel, and one for Bedouins, Palestine. City of Jerusalem, where Jews, Muslims, and Christians all have sacred locales, was to turn into a unique worldwide zone. The arrangement was intended to give Jews a state, to lay out Palestinian freedom, and to end the partisan viciousness that the English could never again control. The Jews acknowledged the arrangement, and they announced freedom as Israel. However, Bedouins all through the area saw the UN plan as more European imperialism attempting to take their property. A significant number of the Bedouin states, who had as of late won freedom themselves, pronounced battle on Israel with an end goal to lay out a brought-together Middle Easterner Palestine where all of English Palestine had been. The new territory of Israel won the conflict. In any case, all the while, they pushed well past their boundaries under the UN plan, taking the western portion of Jerusalem and a large part of the land that was to have been important for Palestine. They likewise ousted tremendous quantities of Palestinians from their homes, making an enormous outcast populace whose relatives today number around 7 million. Toward the finish of the conflict, Israel controlled all of the domain aside from Gaza, which Egypt controlled, and the West Bank, named on the grounds that it's west of the Jordan waterway, which Jordan controlled. This was the start of the many years-long Bedouin-Israeli clash. During this period, numerous Jews and Bedouin, greater part nations escaped or were removed, showing up in Israel. Then something happened that changed the contention. In 1967, Israel and the adjoining Middle Easterner states battled another conflict. At the point when it finished, Israel had held onto the Golan levels from Syria, the West Bank from Jordan, and both Gaza and the Sinai landmass from Egypt. Israel was currently possessing the Palestinian domains, including Jerusalem and its all heavenly destinations. This left Israel liable for overseeing the Palestinians, a group it had battled for a really long time. In 1978, Israel and Egypt marked the U.S.-handled Camp David Accords. Soon after that, Israel gave Sinai back to Egypt as a component of the ceasefire. At that point, this was enormously disputable in the Bedouin world. Egyptian President Anwar Sadat was killed to some extent in view of shock against it. In any case, it denoted the start of the finish of the more extensive Middle Easterner-Israeli clash. Over the course of the following couple of many years, the other Middle Easterner states steadily wiped the slate clean with Israel, regardless of whether they never marked conventional ceasefires. However, Israel's military was all the while possessing the Palestinian domains of the West Bank and Gaza. What's more, this is the point at which the contention turned into an Israeli-Palestinian battle. The Palestinian Freedom Association, which had framed in the 1900 years, was 1960s to look for a Palestinian state battled against Israel, including through demonstrations of psychological oppression. At first, the PLO guaranteed what had been all English Palestine, meaning it needed to end the territory. Israel completely battling among Israel and the PLO happened for quite a long time in any event, including a 1982 Israeli intrusion of Lebanon to remove the gathering from the gathering. The quietness of the truce in southern Lebanon was broken today by the sound of firearms, bombs, and flares. The PLO later said it would acknowledge splitting the land among Israel and Palestine. Yet the contention proceeded. As this was all occurrence, something sensational was changing in the Israel-involved Palestinian domains. Israelis were moving in. These individuals are called pioneers, and they made their homes in the West Bank and Gaza, where the Palestinians needed them or not. Some moved for strict reasons, some since they need to guarantee the land for Israel, some on the grounds that the lodging is modest, frequently sponsored by the Israeli government. A few settlements are urban communities with great many individuals. Others are little networks profound into the West Bank. On the off chance that you've generally felt a profound longing for Jerusalem, presently is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Not exclusively to remain inside its doors, yet additionally to fabricate the home of your fantasies there. Pilgrims are trailed by warriors to monitor them, and the developing settlements force Palestinians off of their territory and separation networks. Short term, they make the occupation significantly more excruciating for Palestinians. Long term, by sharing Palestinian land, they make it significantly more challenging for the Palestinians to at any point have a free state. Today, there are a few 100,000 pioneers in an involved area, despite the fact that the global local area considers them unlawful. By the last part of the 1980s, Palestinian dissatisfaction detonated into the Intifada, which is the Arabic word for uprising. It started with for the most part fights and blacklists, yet before long became vicious. Israel answered with weighty power. Several hundred Israelis, north of 1,000 Palestinians, kicked the bucket in the main Intifada. Around similar time, a gathering of Palestinians in Gaza who thought about the PLO excessively mainstream, also compromised, disapproved, made Hamas a savage, fanatic gathering committed to Israel's obliteration. By the mid-1990s, obviously Israelis and Palestinians experienced to make harmony. The pioneers from the two sides marked the Oslo Accords. This is intended to be the enormous initial move toward Israel, perhaps sometime or another pulling out from the Palestinian domains and permitting a free Palestine. The Oslo Accords laid out the Palestinian power, permitting Palestinians a smidgen of opportunity to oversee themselves in specific regions. The hardliners on the two sides go against the Oslo Accords. Individuals from Hamas send off self-destruction bombings to attempt to attack the interaction. The Israeli right fights harmony chats with ralliers, calling top state leader Yitzhak Rabin a double-crosser and a Nazi. Not long after Rabin signs the second round of Oslo Accords, the far-right Israeli shoots him to death in Tel Aviv. This viciousness demonstrated the way that radicals on the two sides can utilize brutality to wreck harmony, move an extremely durable clash along as they look for the opposite side's complete obliteration. That is a powerful that has been around from that point onward. Exchanges intended to work out the last subtleties on harmony. Delay for quite a long time, and a major Camp David culmination in 2000 comes up void. Palestinians come to accept harmony isn't coming. A sent up in a subsequent intifada, this one considerably more brutal than the first. When it slowed down, a couple of years after the fact, around 1,000 Israelis and 3,200 Palestinians had kicked the bucket. However, the subsequent intifada truly changes the contention. Israelis become substantially more incredulous that Palestinians will at any point acknowledge harmony, or that it's even worth difficult. Israeli governmental issues shift right. The nation assembles walls and designated spots to control Palestinians' developments. They're not sincerely attempting to tackle the contention any longer, simply oversee it. Palestinians are left wanting to arrange didn't work, and savagery didn't work, and that they're stuck under a steadily developing occupation with no future as a group. That year, Israel pulls out from Gaza. Hamas acquires power, however parts from the Palestinian expert in a short considerate conflict, isolating Gaza from the West Bank. Israel puts Gaza under a stifling bar, and joblessness ascends to 40%. This is the condition of the contention as far as we might be concerned today. It's somewhat new and it's intolerable for Palestinians. In the West Bank, an ever-increasing number of settlements are covering Palestinians, frequently answer with fights and once in a while with brutality. The most simply need ordinary lives. In Gaza, Hamas, and other savage gatherings have occasional conflicts with Israel. The battling predominantly kills Palestinians, including heaps of regular citizens. In Israel itself, a great many people have become passionless. Generally, the occupation keeps the contention somewhat eliminated from their regular routines, with snapshots of brief yet horrendous savagery. There's little political will for harmony. Nobody truly knows where the contention goes from here. Perhaps a third intifada, perhaps the Palestinian power breakdowns. However, everybody concurs that things as they are presently can't endure significantly longer. Israel's control of the Palestinians is too temperamental to even consider enduring.